Welcome back to Travels with Alicia. In this episode, I'll talk about my favorite city, which is Bangkok. My top 3 favorite cities are Bangkok number 1, New York City number 2, and Tokyo number 3. So what makes a city so special? And I will say it's the excitement that you feel even when you're just planning to visit. You'll have a desire to learn and experience more, and it almost becomes like a passion that you really want to visit often. Then that's how you're going to know this is one of your favorite cities. If you are just trying to figure out how to get back there, as much as you can. So let's talk about Bangkok. It's the capital of Thailand, and it's always hot. There's no avoiding this, but you can avoid the rainy season. So when you want to go is during dry season, which is November to April. The country is over 90% Buddhist, but that doesn't stop them from celebrating everything. They'll be decorating and decorations everywhere for Christmas, and also New Year's Eve is really epic with the fireworks that go on. There are some additional fun facts. One is that it is the longest city name in the world. It's actually listed in the Guinness Book of World Records. So the full name is not just Bangkok. It has actually 168 letters. So you'll have to look it up because there's no possible way I would ever be able to say it. But it has the longest name of any city in the world. It's also the hottest city based on average temperatures, which I really didn't know. I just thought maybe somewhere in India would be hotter, but Bangkok is known as the hottest city. It's also known as the Venice of the East because there's a river with an extensive canal system that goes through a lot of the neighborhoods, which ends up being a good way for transportation, so it's really helpful. Another interesting fact was that Red Bull was actually created in Bangkok, which I did not know. And it also has one of the largest Chinatowns in the world, particularly by population. So I'm not sure why I waited so long to record this episode. I think it's because I really wanted to return another time before releasing this episode, but that didn't happen. So as I've been working on this episode, I'm constantly taking breaks and looking for flights. I would love to leave after Christmas and spend New Year's in Bangkok. Unfortunately, this seems to be the absolute most expensive time to go, so it might happen. But hopefully, if I can't make it over Christmas and New Year, I hope to get there in January. So several years ago, I traveled to Thailand with my son Dimitri. He was in his early 20s, and I was really excited that he agreed to go with me. At this time, the trip was actually a little out of both of our comfort zones. We had planned to spend a week in Bangkok, followed by a week in Phuket. We were traveling in November, so the weather really was good. It was warm, and it was not at all. I don't even think it rained at all. If it did, it was very, very little. We flew from New York to Hong Kong and then on to Bangkok. Our first leg of the trip was 16 hours and then another 3 to Bangkok, another 3 hours. When we checked in, the attendant realized we weren't sitting together and he tried to change our seats. But I said, please don't, because this was on purpose. I did not want to sit together. Dimitri agreed to travel with me, but he hates to fly, and I knew he would be miserable the whole way. So I purposely put our seats very far apart. So that's a tip if you're traveling with people who don't really like to travel. Another pro tip is if you're choosing a long haul flight, time your flight so that you'll arrive around noon or later so that when you get to the hotel, you can check in right away. And it depends, I guess, how you do on long flights, but sometimes it's really hard to land. If you land at 5 in the morning, for example, you might get to your hotel at 8 or 9 in the morning, and you will not be able to check in for many hours. So if you can do that and go out and sightsee, fantastic. If you know yourself, make sure you book the day before so that when you get to that hotel early in the morning, you'll have paid for that day and they'll let you check in right away. Another tip, if you're doing a long haul flight, is if you choose not to pay for an extra night or book the prior night. Sometimes nice places will have like a spa or next to the pool, a place that you can just hang out and freshen up. That's also helpful, and always ask about that. Okay, let's get back to Bangkok. So Bangkok is amazing because it blends ancient temples and modern skyscrapers. There are so many neighborhoods, each having their own character and charm. So let's talk about accommodations. I would recommend hotels over individual rentals if it's your first time and if you're not staying long term. The hotels are priced so well and they're amazing. So it's very easy to find, hotels that you'll be so happy with. Also, you'll have a little extra support if you need help with directions or tips about the neighborhood and restaurants and things like that. So Dimitri and I, we stayed in Sukhumvit. Sukhumvit is a main thoroughfare running through central Bangkok. It's very popular with tourists. And I'll tell you what confused me until just recently. Sukhumvit is not a neighborhood. There are many neighborhoods along Sukhumvit. So mid-Sukhumvit is between, they call it Soi 1 and Soi 63. And these are just the crossroads. So there'll be like obviously these 63 crossroads. At Soi 21, the neighborhood's called Asuk. And then at Soi 55, the neighborhood is called Thung Lor. And so this is something, the difference between Sukhumvit. Sukhumvit's huge. So people might tell you to stay near or stay in Sukhumvit. Just remember, that is a very, very large area, so you might want to narrow it down. Our hotel was called the Maitreya Hotel Sukhumvit 18. So it was on Soi 18, which actually was considered a soak, which was close to I said Soi 21. And Soi 21 is where Terminal 21 Mall is. And so it's a very good, busy area to be. We loved this hotel. It was called the Maitreya Hotel Sukhumvit 18. And it was walking distance to so many things. And in the high season, I looked actually for this January in 2026, and it was only about $80 to $100 a night. So it's a good value, and it's walking distance to both trains. They have the MRT and the BTS, and so it gives you access to get anywhere you need to in the city. And at this price, the breakfast was also included, and it was really, really good. It wasn't a buffet. It was an Australian coffee place, and they had a menu, and you could order Western food or Asian food for breakfast. They had fancy coffees and juices. It was really, really nice. And this place also had a beautiful pool on the roof. So that's something else you should always look for. And most nice places do have this. Because it's so hot, it's wonderful to have a pool at your hotel so you can come back and relax at some point and cool off. We really love this place and would definitely stay again. Again, it was walking distance to so many restaurants, massage places, bars, and the Terminal 21 Mall. So you may not love malls or have any plan to visit them when you're on vacation, but in Thailand, malls are very important. They're not just for shopping. They're a meeting place. They have all types of restaurants and entertainment, so be open to visit them. They are different from malls in the U.S. They allow you to escape the heat or the rain. In Terminal 21, there were different floors named after different countries, and it's meant to feel like an airplane terminal. One floor, which was very interesting and made it different than malls that I'm used to, was mainly local designers. And that was really cool. So Dimitri got a bomber jacket. And the young designer said her grandmother actually sewed the jacket. And you could see the silk lining was all hand sewn. So that, is very unusual. And again, another reason that these are places worth checking out. Also, this mall, Terminal 21, is known to have the cheapest street food of any of the malls in Thailand. There's actually 2 floors of food. One is actually restaurants. So the restaurant floor had some mom and pop places, but most of this floor were chains. And they were chains that maybe I was not familiar. Some were from Japan, Korea, Australia, the UK, and definitely the US. And what made it fun and interesting was that some of the chains that we saw were no longer even open in the US. So I saw a Ponderosa Steakhouse. We haven't had a Ponderosa Steakhouse for like over a decade in the US. So somehow it must have done well outside the US and they kept it. But the top floor is the food court. And this is where the inexpensive food is. Really what it is bringing street food into the mall. And it's a trend that became popular about 15 years ago. And it was driven by the younger generation wanting to be inside with air condition and the increased perception of cleanliness. And Terminal 21, the reason it is the cheapest is they provide lower rents to that food court floor in the mall. They wanted their food court to become a draw and be the most popular of all the malls. And I will say, I think they've been very successful. Also, you don't pay cash. You get a card and you load money on it, and then you can just walk around and get things from all the different vendors. So overall, I will say we loved where we stayed. We love the quality of the hotel. We love the location, and I highly recommend it. But let's move now to another area. I can also recommend the Riverside. The Riverside is probably more peaceful and luxurious. They have many hotels with beautiful views of the Chao Phraya River. And also you'll have access to water taxis. And that makes it easy to get to some of the tourist sites like the Grand Palace and Wat Arun. And you can even get to another mall called the Icon Siam Mall, which was brand new when Dimitri and I visited. So the Grand Palace is a complex of buildings, and it served as the official residence of the kings of Siam and later Thailand. And it served as a residence from 1782 to 1925. Now it's just a major tourist attraction and a significant cultural site. And also it's where the Temple of the Emerald Buddha is. It's definitely a place you have to visit. It's absolutely gorgeous. Highly recommend it. So Dimitri and I visited the Grand Palace as part of a private tour with Airbnb experiences. We were picked up at our hotel in Sukhumvit, and we visited the Grand Palace and 4 to 5 other temples. It was very clever because the host picked the agenda based on the sites that are on the Thai coins. So, for example, the back of the 1 baht coin is the Temple of the Emerald Buddha, which is part of the Grand Palace. So we were kind of given the coin and when we visited the Grand Palace. And I just thought that was really, really interesting way of looking at this and approaching the tour. And it made it a little more fun. So the Temple of Wat Arun is depicted on the 10 baht coin. And this is one you've probably seen in millions of pictures. It has these missile-shaped, like, domes that kind of rise from the buildings, and it's absolutely gorgeous. These domes are covered in mosaics, and it's wonderful. So the 5 baht coin had the marble temple, so we got to do that. And then the 2 baht coin was the Golden Mount. So this just gives you an example of our day. It was pretty exhausting because we really fit a lot into one day, but with Dimitri, we just kind of we didn't want to spend a lot of time at each of these places. So for us, it worked. We were very happy at how we approached it, and it was a lot of fun. But everyone's different. If you have more time, maybe you would want to do 1 or 2 a day and then come back and enjoy your pool or relax. Or wherever these temples are, you might want to spend some time looking around the area or eating close by. But I will say, for us, it was worth it because, again, having a private tour picked up in a car, it was about $75 a person, well worth the money. And also, oh gosh, I almost forgot, it also included a tuk-tuk ride, which and lunch. And so that was really nice because we had not gone on a tuk-tuk, and sometimes you can get scammed. So it was a lot of fun to have that already included. I will say that the riverside is probably a better jumping off point if you want to spend a lot of time doing temples and sites and historical things. And so that's just something to think about when you're doing your planning. Another comment is, right on the water is the Icon Siam Mall. And we were actually just blown away by it. And we visited it by accident. Dimitri and I, we actually planned 2 tours. One was the one I just explained about going to see all the temples and sites. The other tour was a bike tour through old Bangkok. And it was supposed to go through the more local areas. And it was going to stop at a restaurant that, someone's home that they actually cooked. And then their living room and kitchen was the place where you ate. And it sounded wonderful. We never made it. We left over an hour, gave ourselves an hour to get there. I don't know what happened, and I won't go into the details, but I will say that the group had waited over 20 minutes for us, and they were so kind. The host of that tour said we could do it the next day, but we were leaving. So instead, we were super disappointed, and the host said, why don't you drop them off at the Icon Siam Mall? It just had opened. And honestly, I really didn't feel like going to another mall. So I said, just take us back to the train station. But as we were driving by it, I could see it was something amazing looking and worth stopping. So I said, okay, just drop us here. And when we got there, I will tell you, oh my goodness, it was completely different than Terminal 21. This was a very high-end mall, and there was like Rolls Royces and Ferraris that were being sold in the mall. They also had a walkway that was an art gallery. But they had museum quality art, like actually a Van Gogh, in the mall as you're walking around. They also had a floor of very high-end restaurants that was at the top of the mall, and these had gorgeous views of the river and the city. And I can only imagine how nice that would be at night. They also had other floors of food. We ate at a sushi restaurant because we saw 2 guys coming through the mall with a giant tuna on their shoulder, and they just went straight into this restaurant, so we just followed them, and it was absolutely delicious, and we knew it was fresh. The food court for this mall is at the bottom of the mall, and it's designed like a floating market. Colorful, beautiful. We ate dumplings, and I remember there was just a lot of Middle Eastern and Indian food. Anyway, this mall, worth a visit, and nothing like Terminal 21. So another area is called the Siam area. And I won't go into too much detail, but this is a retail scene. There are many more malls, 3 to 4 in this area. And it's a really good area for fashion and tech. It also has a very youthful vibe. There are universities close by, so that makes it, a definitely younger scene. It's connected to the BTS, so you can get to this easily. And there's nightlife here. There's a lot of rooftop bars. So another thing that would be fun to do if you were in that area. So the last area I'm going to mention, and it will be quickly, is called Ari. And this is an area that's just become popular recently with the young crowd. It's all over TikTok and Instagram. It's the Brooklyn of Bangkok. I did not get there. I would love to just see it. It's mainly a laid-back area with a few restaurants and coffee shops, but it's very arty, and there's a few boutiques, and there's some trendy small hotels. So it's probably not the area I'd want to stay in, but it's probably worth a visit, and if it's something you think you would like, I just wanted to mention it so you knew about it. So let's move on to some things that maybe I didn't do, but I am definitely going to do next time I go. And one is visit some rooftop bars. So we did talk about that one area that has a lot, but there are all over the city of Bangkok. They are known for rooftop bars. There's options for every taste and budget, but in general, they're pretty pricey because of the views. But you can look up, like, what are the best ones to go to, and you'll see the top 50 best rooftop bars. So you can imagine how many there actually are. So the most iconic one is the Sky Bar at Labua, and it's probably a must-visit, but the funny thing is it got the worst reviews out of all of them. It's the famous one from the movie The Hangover that has this gorgeous glowing bar, and it's a view that most people have seen. So if you want to do it, great. I'm sure there's just a lot of people taking pictures. But if you want a more quieter scene, I'm sure you can find another rooftop bar that will fit what you want to do. So another thing that I didn't get to do is night markets. So there's many night markets. The biggest being the Chatuchak Weekend Market, where there's over 15,000 stalls, 26 sections, over 35 acres. It's one of the largest in the world. It's very hot, so you really have to time like when you go and look up the hours and things like that. I almost forgot to mention, I just found out that really across from this, and I'm not sure which side, but close to the Chatuchak Weekend Market is one of the largest vintage stores in Bangkok. It's like so many floors. It's absolutely huge. So if that's something that you're really into, check that out. I know they have vintage things also at the night market, but I think there's a whole new section that's actually indoors close by. So there are many night markets. I mean, there's things called Jod Fairs, the Train Night Market, Asiatique, things like that. So look them up. But I will tell you, the names sometimes change and their hours change. So that's important to look at before you head out. They'll all have their own character, and a lot of them even have live music in bars. So it's just a good thing to do in the evening. And it's a lot cooler in the evening. So people like to go out. So there are a few other things that you might want to do. Visit a floating market. I don't know if I would do that or not. There's several. There's at least 4 floating markets. Some are very touristy. Some have a much more local vibe. So you would have to kind of sense out, is that something you want to do? There's also a few day trips that are really worthwhile. Ayutthaya is one of those, and that was the former capital of Siam. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's full of ancient temples, palaces, statues. It's about an hour north of Bangkok. So you can see that alone could be done in a day. And I think you can rent bikes while you're there. And I'm not sure what else. They have several options for you. So if you can't do a lot of walking. So there's also the World War II sites, the bridge over the River Kwai and all those. That's about 2 hours west of Bangkok. But if you're really into history, I would say it's worth it for you to do that. There's also national parks and Pattaya, a seaside town that's about 2 hours away. So both the national park and Pattaya are about 2 hours away. Pattaya used to have like a really seedy, unfortunately, connotation with it. But I will tell you, it's really turning around. It's, doing a lot to change its reputation. And it's definitely a destination with gorgeous hotels that families can feel comfortable going to. And Jomtien is only a half hour further, which is, even further from that kind of seedier scene. So I honestly think Bangkok is a perfect base for a Thailand trip. I have not met anyone who does not like Bangkok. Even people who don't really like cities were amazed by it and were really glad that they had the opportunity to experience it. If you're traveling to Southeast Asia, I would recommend seeing more than one destination. Bangkok is a perfect jumping off point for other places. You can either see other places in Thailand, such as in one of the islands, or Chiang Mai in the north, or you can go to another country. They're all very close. Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Singapore. You can get to a lot of these countries with nonstop flights if you have interest in doing that. So it's a long trip for many of us to get to Bangkok. Make the most of it and see as much as you can. So to end this episode, I can confidently say, go to Bangkok. You won't regret it. You can do a little bit of everything, or you can focus your time on a particular interest, whether it be food, because they have tons of Michelin street food. You could even focus on sports. They have Muay Thai, which is the martial arts that originated in Thailand. You can see a fight, you can take a class, or you can even stay and train. They do it all. I've talked a lot about shopping, so you can see it's not only retail shopping, but there's also wholesale markets that it's fun to go see. And if you want to buy a lot of something, they'll give you a great price. Also, art. They're known for beautiful art. There's museums everywhere. I really did not spend time doing that, and that would be fun. And again, history and religion, everything is available. And everything's available to you at a reasonable cost. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Travels with Alicia. I hope you get to experience Bangkok at least once, and preferably many times. In the next episode, I will cover the island of Phuket. Stay tuned.